What's up, y'all? It's Ty back here with another video. My voice is gone, but I don't care because Soft Drink TV talking about the worst NBA game of all time. This is my expertise. NBA Alive or NBA Elite. Which one is it? I don't know. This is what they changed it to and what basically just kind of started the downfall of NBA Live. But I'm interested to see what he has to say about NBA Elite 11 because 2K11 was obviously fantastic. We learned about that in one of our other videos. So I'm interested to see what made NBA Elite so bad. Shout out to my guy Soft Drink TV.
You already know how this story goes. Or do you?
My throat, man. I don't know. I need like some
EA
some
Sports
tea.
had been the king of the basketball video game scene for years,
NBA Live.
thanks to their incredibly popular NBA Live series. But slowly, a new company, now known as 2K, was gaining on EA. NBA 2K, thanks to its more sim-like gameplay and stronger attention to detail, was starting to overtake Live. One of 2K's top guys, Mike Wang, left 2K in 2009 to help EA develop NBA Live 10.
And it's crazy because Mike Wang gets so much hate now, and yet he's the reason that 2K is
allowing EA to stay relevant while 2K continued to become more and more popular.
It's crazy.
After a few years of mediocre games, NBA Live 10 was a great bounce back, and it's a game I'd call the last great NBA Live. Then Mike Wang returned to 2K, assuming he'd helped create a return to the aggressive competition of the early 2000s that resulted in so many classic sports games.
I wish he would have stayed with NBA Live. Genuinely, 2K is dog water.
But that's not what happened. EA decided to take a bold risk with NBA Live 11, first by changing the name to NBA Elite 11. Gameplay controls were completely redesigned, and the final game was too buggy and ended up getting canceled.
I don't even think the name change, like, is it needed? No, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. They just had to make a good game.
EA returned to creating NBA Live games, scrapping the name Elite, but could never recover, and today, NBA Live is basically dead.
They said stay tuned and that they'd keep us updated, but they don't even do that.
That's the story we all know. But what if I told you there was more to all of this? What if I told you NBA Elite 11 wasn't even that bad of a game, but instead a failed act of ambition? You see, up until today, few people actually knew. NBA Elite 11 never released in stores, and the few copies that somehow got into circulation go for at least $10,000.
What? Can I get a copy of this, please? What in the world? 30 grand?
Simply a display poster of the game goes for $2,000. It was assumed that due to the new controls and the famous glitches, the game was trash. But was it actually? Thanks to modern day technology and emulation, we can finally see what NBA Elite 11 really was. In an old interview with former EA CEO John Riccitiello, I don't know if that's how you say his name, but I'm going to try to pronounce it like that the rest of this video.
Riccitiello?
You can actually understand what EA was thinking. In fact, the story behind NBA Elite 11 is almost admirable. How did everything go so wrong? This is
admirable? For a game that didn't release? How is that admirable?
Story behind the story of a game. NBA Elite 11 will forever live in infamy, but now we have more context. Now a more accurate depiction of the game can be formed. Was the game that killed itself, and eventually NBA Live, truly
look at Prime Rose.
NBA 2K had been gaining on EA's Live series for a while.
And 2K11 was a good game. Like, it was genuinely a good game.
For EA, NBA Live 10 was a hit.
Can't hate.
But with 2K working hard on NBA 2K11, now with Mike Wang back in the building, EA had two options. Continue building upon Live 10's foundation, or try something ambitious, something crazy. The safe choice was to give Live 10 a roster update and some tweaks, yet they did the complete opposite. The development team in Canada came forward and they said, look, the way we're going to take 2K on is that we're going to fundamentally innovate, and we're going to essentially give you dual analog controls that give you an enormous amount of fidelity over the way you play the game.
He just ran out of bounds. I mean, I guess NBA Live 10, but that animation looked horrible, whatever that was.
You can literally take the ball from left to right, drive to the basket, switch the ball to your left hand and do a left-handed dunk. And they showed me that gameplay and put the controller in my hand, and I said, this is about as much fun as I've ever had playing any sports game. That was the former CEO of EA, John Ricciello, in an interview from 2010.
Man, you can't tell me he could do all that nonsense. These developers they're not even good on the video games themselves. What are we talking about here? I know that guy doesn't even know how to do a left-handed dunk on his own game. What are we talking about? He might know how to do it, but I guarantee you give him the controller in an actual game situation, it's not happening.
They said, "We're going to do this for next year," but it was a complete rewrite of the technology. It was an ambitious plan. So ambitious, in fact, that the team was scrambling to get the game finished on time. Their idea was actually pretty unique. The game's producer at the time had previously worked on NHL games, where using the sticks to control everything was the norm.
And I mean, I don't even hate it, but again, like, for example, when you shoot the ball, there's no point in having to hold the stick.
Calling this game NBA Live 11, they changed the name to Elite because EA said this was going to be a brand new game, not simply a follow-up to NBA Live 10. Fast forward to today, where NBA Live no longer exists, and EA Sports titles that do exist are anything but innovative.
Wait, is this Brandon Jennings? Why is he shooting right-handed jump shots? Hold up, am I missing something? Brandon Jennings was left-handed?
It's an interesting parallel, and it makes me wonder if the mistakes EA made with Elite 11 forever changed the company's development philosophy. Back in 2010,
I must not know what's going on, because that's what I'm seeing right now.
What EA was doing wasn't even that out of the ordinary. A few years back, EA had a baseball series called Triple Play Baseball, which they eventually rebranded to MVP Baseball, and after that, the series had great success. NBA Live, while an iconic name, had, despite the bounce back with Live 10, fallen off with the general sports gaming crowd. 2K was simply better at that point in time.
I mean, 2K took over the basketball scene. Even if NBA Live was released, there were some years it was released. Like, the games are not even close.
EA figured if they wanted to stand a chance, they needed something fresh. We plan to profoundly evolve the interactive basketball experience.
Like, look at all this, bro.
In a way that the category has not seen for a decade.
This looks way too hard.
Said Peter Moore, former president of EA Sports. In NBA Elite 11, we will introduce a gameplay experience that gives fans the control on the court that they have been begging for in a basketball game for years. NBA Elite 11 will give gamers the same skill set that a pro basketball player has at his disposal.
Come on, dog. You got to realize the average person that loads up this game is a little kid that wants to play the NBA game. They're not trying to do the most with all, like, they don't want to do all that.
The creative director of the game said, "This is the first basketball simulation video game where you are controlling every movement, dribble move, shot, dunk, layup, steal, and block in real time with one-to-one control. You are no longer going to push a button and watch the computer generate a long animation sequence. It is like being on a basketball court with an amazing set of skills. This is going to change what people have come to expect from a basketball simulation video game."
It's just too much, though.
The game was heavily advertised and marketed, and people were interested. I vividly remember reading about the game's announcement back then, feeling excited for this new Elite series. Kevin Durant was on the cover. J. Cole helped create the soundtrack. EA added Mike Breen, Jeff Van Gundy, and Mark Jackson as a new...
So they spent all this money, all this time, all this work for nothing?
...commentary team, along with accurate ESPN music and presentation elements. So what went wrong? Was this game actually the worst NBA game of all time?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you spent all this time and it was what?
Upon playing NBA Elite 11 today in 2022, this isn't really a bad game. Is it unpolished? Yes. But the core game wasn't bad at all. And it's easy to see this game actually being good if the developers just had a bit more time to work with. Let's focus on gameplay, because that was the major change to the game from NBA Live 10 to Elite 11. Sticks controlled everything. And while I've heard this overcomplicated the gameplay for most articles about the game, I actually really like these controls. Future NBA 2K and Live titles would actually build upon what this game did. The left stick controls your player, and the right stick controls your dribbling and shooting. Those sticks control nearly the entire game. Instead of button presses and combinations, Elite 11 aimed to give users full control over their player, and the sticks...
I mean, I don't even mind the sticks for dribbling. I'm just saying, to do everything with your sticks just seems crazy. Like, it seems crazy to have to do everything with your sticks.
Actually worked quite well for that. Shooting was skill-based with a meter, and the goal was basically green lighting by releasing the ball in the green. Shooting was done by holding the right stick up, dunking was done by holding it up while driving to the basket. But you had so much control. While going for a dunk, you could move your stick to the left or right last second and switch to a layup, for example. This resulted in the ability to pull off moves that weren't yet possible in a video game, at least not with full control. Normally these would randomly play out as animations from a button press.
That's still what it is sometimes. I mean, you have a little control over it in 2K, like whether you go up with your left or right hand, stuff like that, if you want to use this stick, and you can shoot with this stick. Most people don't, though. They just hold square.
Here, you chose exactly what animation your player would use based on how you controlled him. Again, it was a much more skill-based game. These controls were actually pretty great, you just needed to spend some time practicing them. I'd imagine if this game released online, officially without the bugs, it would have been fantastic to play competitively. This wasn't a cheesy game like NBA Live 09 either. The AI was challenging and would test you. Too many dribble moves, watch as the CPU steals the ball. Try to go coast to coast with a big man? Good luck. If you want to make a tough shot, you need to hit a tough release. Unlike previous live games, Elite 11 gave you the ability to succeed or fail on your own.
It actually doesn't look that bad, genuinely. My whole thing is, I'm fine with there being, like, if it was on Hall of Fame difficulty, like this skill-based, but it also needs a part of it where if, like, a little kid picks it up, it needs to be easy to play too. Like, that's my whole thing. There needs to be, like, two separate things, and I think it looks like you could adjust that too.
Animations weren't to blame. You and your own stick skills were. Game modes were pretty standard, with Dynasty feeling similar to Live 10s, but actual in-game action was so much better. The freedom to control your player fully is just so fun, and the presentation the game uses is fantastic. Be Legendary was a
Okay, why am I watching them hit these crazy shots though?
new career mode, something Live 10 didn't have, that would have rivaled NBA 2K's My Player mode. Upon checking it out, the mode is actually decently deep for 2010. The issue is that the game simply isn't finished. Glitches that should have been caught in quality control weren't, and in some cases it breaks the game. If you ignore them, however, this is a very solid base for an NBA video game. What I see is a rare example of a sports game that actually tried to do something ambitious.
And look, I get what he is saying, but if you spend all this time, all these resources, everything to create this type of game, and then it goes unreleased, I don't know. I don't have the positivity he does. I don't have
a game
it.
that tried to push the entire genre forward, yet because it failed, the game has been cemented as one of the worst ever. We should miss
It's unreleased though.
Failure of this magnitude and hope for it again, because the best progress comes from failure. The more you mess up in life, the less likely you are to repeat those mistakes in the future. The sooner you mess up in life, the better, because
yes, to an extent, but you still can't say something is not a bad game because it's still, to me, it's horrible. Like, you've got to be able to finish a game. Like, I would have loved to see a game, even if yes, those certain bugs needed to be fixed, whatever, but even if you release an NBA Elite 11, it's solid. You build on it going to 12. You have something going. Instead of just unreleasing it.
You'll learn valuable life lessons before most. Embrace failure. NBA Elite 11 is an example of EA running away from it. You can argue that they made the right call from a business perspective.
But the thing is, they lost so much money trying to build this game.
But did they? Where is NBA Live today?
They're not putting any money into it.
If you don't give your developers the option to fail, they won't be able to take any risks. And that's how you get the soulless sports games we see today that sell simply because of brand recognition rather than because of the game itself.
It's true. That's why we need NBA Live back. We need competition. I agree.
If you take the safest option out of a fear of failing, then you've already failed. I actually applaud.
What a motivational video, though. This guy needs to be a motivational speaker, man.
The EA Canada and their work on NBA Elite 11. Thank you for trying. Unfortunately, public perception and some bad press helped kill Elite 11 and eventually NBA Live itself. The infamous Jesus Bynum glitch was the start. Then there was the hookshot glitch. More and more quality control issues showed up, all very close to launch. All of this simply from the free demo. It became
Like, come on, you're shooting hook shots from the three-point line, and he's talking about this game could have been good. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. What are we talking about?
well known that NBA Elite 11 was a buggy mess, and EA ended up canceling the game to salvage what was left of their basketball video game
It's just
reputation.
sad, though.
The team that worked super hard night and day trying to get Elite 11 to live up to their ambitions were basically cast aside as EA moved future development to Tiburon, the studio behind Madden. As Richie Tiello said, people admire game companies that take risks, but in retrospect, they only seem to admire game companies that take risks when the risks work.
I just wish, even with the bugs, whatever, can't you like update your game? I know they can't now to fix glitches and stuff. I don't like how they like didn't release it. Like, just make the game free or something. Build on it. Don't just cancel it.
That's not a risk anymore if you only take risks that work. I think of it as like skiing. If you occasionally don't fall down, you're not trying hard enough.
Man, skiing?
While NBA Live
You think
18
I wanna
and 19
ski?
weren't bad games, and even did some things better than 2K, they didn't sell that great, and we haven't had an NBA Live game since.
Yeah, because they're giving
After Elite
up,
11,
man.
most people were done with EA basketball games. NBA 2K11 was arguably the greatest
It was
NBA
good.
video
It
game
was good.
ever made at that point in time. So why even care that Elite 11 was canceled after that? Why even bother downloading NBA Live 13? Had NBA Elite 11 been finished, perhaps it would have been more polished and even considered a pretty good game. EA could have continued making games with the Elite name for years.
That's what I'm saying, but you have to be able to build on something. And canceling a game is building on nothing. It's nothing. There's nothing there to build
Today,
on.
in this alternate reality. Instead, today EA is a completely different company ran by completely different people. They stopped innovating in all of their sports games. The failure of NBA Elite 11 still stings, because the game really could have been something special. But instead, it was the catalyst that helped EA Sports regress into what it is today. Thanks.
Shout out to my man for this video, because he does have a good point. Genuinely, I like the fact that they tried something different. I like that. I think it's cool. But again, there needs to be levels for it. Obviously, beginner level doesn't need that complex stuff. But like 2K, there needs to be a bigger skill gap. There absolutely does. I don't, especially competitively, I don't think there's any really way around that. But I'm just saying, even if it's an unfinished game, to put in all that effort, all that time, all that money, all those resources into making a game and then having it canceled, that just can't happen. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.